Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Salebox for the weekend beginning the 10th of Feb 2012. My name is Totalbiscuit, rounding up all the digital deals available on various PC DD sites, including things like Steam, GamersGate, Gamefly, Get Games Go, and so on and so forth. So let's start with what would, of course, be the most popular one, which is Steam. Starts off with a sale for Stronghold 3. It's £14.99 or $24.99. Sadly, dollar to euro continues to be the case, so it's at 25 euros. Great, that's 32% higher than the US price. So the Europeans really have no reason to be interested in this one. Honestly, for everyone, there is no legit reason to be interested in this one because this game still sucks. It was awful on launch. It had some real problems, like the fact that the cursor didn't change over a context-sensitive action, so it was always the same. You had no idea whether or not you were attacking, moving, or anything like that. The fact that wolves could climb up towers, they could go up ladders. It was ridiculous. The fact that the patrol button didn't work, the fact that the user interface was absolute garbage and didn't give you the information you required. The game is a broken piece of crap and continues to be so. It still crashes on the majority of multiplayer games. It's missing co-op, it's missing skirmish. Oh, just don't. Seriously, don't. It's nowhere near ready. They released this game far before it was actually ready to go, and it still isn't fixed, regardless of the many, many patches that they've actually put in. There are only two worthwhile Stronghold games, the original Stronghold and Stronghold Crusader. There is no other good Stronghold game. I'm sorry, any of the 3D ones are just awful. Every single one of them. I don't know what the hell they managed to do in order to break them all, but they did. So that is a definite avoid as far as I'm concerned until they actually fix this. If you need any more evidence, just go read every review on the planet. Yeah, it's not good. It has the potential to be a good game when they patch every single one of those issues out and actually fix the glaring issues with it, but they have not managed to do that so far, even though they have been actively patching the game and it is better than it was on launch. It's still not worth the price they're asking for here. Alright, the other thing on Steam, which most certainly is worth the price of asking, is Plants vs. Zombies Game of the Year edition at a fairly whopping 80% off, which takes it down to £1.39, $2 or €2. Oh my, this is good. It really, really is as well. This is the kind of game that, even though it's very, very casual, and obviously it's by a company that makes casual games, it's still really cool, and I think that, honestly, PopCap seem to be this one company that can pull off doing casual games and actually still have them appeal to more hardcore gamers. The only real problem I've got with this game is how goddamn slow-paced it is at the start. It really, really is. It's like it is aimed at a casual market, so it introduces you to the concept at a snail's pace. So you may have to slog through the first chapter because everything should be blindingly obvious for you. But after that, it is really, really solid. It's got an awful lot of content. It's a ridiculously good price and a really good sense of humor. And it can get pretty damn hard at times. So, yeah, I'm definitely in favor, as far as I'm concerned, of Plants vs. Zombies Game of the Year edition. That would be a must-buy if you haven't already tried it. It is essentially a tower defense game with a set of linear lines, and you have to build a set of defensive flowers in the way. Particular combinations are good against particular waves and different kinds of zombies. It's got a great style to it. I'm certainly a fan. Alright, 50% off on GOG of all of the topware games available there. Now, this does allow you to pick up some fairly decent games and some that just really aren't worth having. The standout games on that list, as far as I am concerned, are the Earth 21XX series. 2150 and 2160 would be the ones that I would be bothering with. 2150's got a lot of content. 2160 is a newer, better-looking game. Mechanically, they're both really good. 2150 is considered the classic of the series. 2160's got some problems in that the voice acting and story mode are really bad, but the actual game mechanics are fantastic. So for skirmish mode and multiplayer, that one's definitely worth checking out as far as I'm concerned. It's a pretty unique RTS with 4 very different factions and different methods of building, as well as vehicle design and stuff like that in it. So it's pretty cool. So you might be thinking, oh, Jagged Alliance 2, great. Not so great. These guys were not the original developers. Just bear that in mind. Some people think that Wildfire is okay, but others describe it as an amateurish mod of the original game. It was developed by Ideal Game Studios and published by Topware. Needless to say, that is not who made Jagged Alliance 2. That was actually developed by Surtech and published by Strategy first, and that game is universally considered to be absolutely fantastic. And then, of course, you've got Jagged Alliance Deadly Games and the original Jagged Alliance, which was pretty damn cool as well. That was actually developed by Mad Lab. So it's funny how that series has actually been passed from developer to developer in that respect. But That's kind of not so great in my honest opinion. Enclave's fairly good. It's not too shabby anyway. It's a good third-person action RPG style game. It's not bad. It's pretty cool, but of course it does suffer from the fact that it is a pretty old game and it doesn't exactly look amazing, although it doesn't look terrible either, so that might be something you want to look into. The other stuff on there is kind of a meh, especially Two Worlds, which is considered by a lot of people to be pretty terrible. It's got some of the most laughable voice acting I've ever heard in my life. It's also got some completely broken combat systems and mechanics that don't even make any sense. The rest of them I can't really comment on because I haven't had the chance to play them, but definitely Earth 2150 and 2160 are the standout games in the Topware sale here, and both of those can be picked up for $3 each, and that's regardless of where you happen to be in the world, so not a bad little deal for some excellent RTS. Alright, so let's move on to GamersGate, shall we? There's a couple of decent sales over here. We've got the Oddboxx. That will set you back £10 or $15 and also €15. Pretty much everything that I give you here is euros to dollars at a 1-to-1 ratio. I don't really know why that is, but that's just how it is. So Oddboxx contains 4 Oddworld games: Abe's Exodus, Abe's Odyssey, Munch's Odyssey, and Stranger's Wrath. Unfortunately, Stranger's Wrath is not the HD version that just came out on PS3 and 360 recently, which is, I have to say, an awful lot better. So that's a bit of a kick in the teeth. It's not quite as good as a direct result of that. The other games are kind of puzzle adventure platformers. If you've ever played games like Another World or Flashback, then you probably know what's going on there. They've got a very odd world, as you might imagine, based on the name, and a very interesting sense of humor. This is probably a pickup, in my honest opinion. If you've never played any of these games before, there's a ton of enjoyment available here. You might have to struggle with the camera a little bit in Munch's Odyssey, which is kind of unfortunate there. And just bear in mind that the 2 Oddworld games at the start are really quite old, so expect to play them at a very low resolution. But the fact of the matter is these are considered, for the most part, classics, and that's a good price for an awful lot of gameplay available there. It might be worth having a look at over at GamersGate. Alright, we've also got the Tom Clancy Collection for £20, $25, and €25. I really don't think this is a good pack, if I'm totally honest. It's got 5 games in it, consisting of Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 1, not 2, Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, which admittedly is arguably the best one in the series, End War, Hawks, and Rainbow Six Vegas. So, Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter is pretty decent. It's not a terrible game by any stretch of the imagination. It is not really all that faithful to the original Ghost Recon games, but in its own right, it is pretty damn solid as far as I'm concerned, and is a decent tactical shooter. Splinter Cell Chaos Theory is an amazing game. It's absolutely fantastic as far as I'm concerned. It is awesome. It's an amazing stealth action experience, and I don't even like stealth action games, and I enjoyed Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, so there's definitely an awful lot to be had there, and the games that came after that just weren't quite as good. As far as I'm concerned, Chaos Theory is kind of the pinnacle of the series. End War is a waste of your time. It is a very badly put together RTS. It was built around voice control, and it simply doesn't work all that well. The campaign itself is pretty damn repetitive, which certainly doesn't help matters. Barely anyone plays it online anymore, which is what it was really designed to do with the persistent units and so on and so forth, which is once again rather unfortunate. And it's got Tega's DRM, which is definitely not helpful because apparently it causes crashes and instability. So fun times. That's an avoid. Tom Clancy's Hawks, garbage. Awful game. Wow. How could they have possibly made a game like this any worse? I was kind of looking forward to this because I'm a big fan of the Ace Combat series. So I'm like, how can this possibly go wrong? How do you screw up an arcadey flight sim with real-world planes? The answer is you be Hawks. It is the slowest thing. It's like you are flying a propeller plane. Actually, you know what? That's an insult to propeller planes. It's like you're flying a goddamn glider. Seriously, you're supposed to be flying a multi-million-dollar jet around? It doesn't even feel like it. It is really dull. It's incredibly slow-paced and boring. It's not even the second game either, which was slightly better. It's the first one. Please do not touch that one. And then Rainbow Six Vegas, which, as far as I'm concerned, is a flat-out betrayal of everything Rainbow Six used to be. Yeah, sorry, what can I say? I just don't like it. Regenerating health in a Rainbow Six game? Really? What the hell? No tactical planning? God, it was Rainbow Six for the console generation. And that was quite sad as well, because the original Rainbow Six games actually did come out on PlayStation and Dreamcast, and they didn't water them down, so what the hell are they doing here? Personally, I'm not a fan of Vegas. A lot of people will tell you otherwise. They think it's amazing. I don't. It's as simple as that. So that pack honestly only has 2 really good games in it and 3 that I would personally avoid. Ergo, it's not worth buying. You might as well just grab Chaos Theory on its own. It's the best of the pack by far. Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter is pretty good as well, but I probably wouldn't buy it for the price they've got up there. So as far as I'm concerned, unless you are really desperate to get hold of the new Tom Clancy games, then this is an avoid. And these aren't really the new Tom Clancy games. These are years old. All right, let's hop on over to Gamefly, which was formerly Direct to Drive. Alright, so they've got a couple of decent offers on here. Mass Effect 2, which is probably the best offer of the lot, £7.49 or $4.99, also €4.99. So the UK guys get screwed royally, but the Europeans and the US, oh, they're laughing all the way to the bank. So that's pretty damn good for them. Do I really need to tell you how good Mass Effect 2 is? It's really, really good. Some people disliked it because it, quote, watered down the RPG elements. What they really mean is, of course, that it watered down inventory management and gear swapping and the acquisition of gear and so on and so forth. Gear was very much limited to items that were clearly different from what you already had. There wasn't a set of linear upgrades. The weapons themselves seemed to all work pretty well, and you could use anyone in any situation. They were pretty well balanced that way. Some people really hated that. Some people thought it was good. I personally quite enjoyed it. It is kind of less of an RPG now, I would say, and more of a action combat game with RPG elements in it, because having stripped all that stuff out, it does take away some of the RPG elements from the original game, but that doesn't mean it's a bad game. Indeed, it's one of the few games over the past few years that I've actually sat down and played the whole damn thing. So that should speak volumes that I was able to put the time in for that. It was good. It was really, really good. I enjoyed it an awful lot. And of course, Mass Effect 3 is on the way, so now would possibly be time to get your save files ready. All right, Medal of Honor. £10 or $5 or €5. For $5, it might be worth it. For £10, it definitely isn't. Medal of Honor is a Call of Duty style game. Let's just not beat around the bush. It was blatantly designed to try and have a shot at them, and it failed in that respect, I have to say. The multiplayer is okay, but nobody's playing it anymore because, of course, Battlefield 3 came out, which is pretty much better in every sodding respect. And the single player is heavily FOV limited, heavily scripted. It's very consoleized. I personally couldn't tolerate it for more than half an hour. I really couldn't. I tried, it gave me headaches. So it really isn't an option as far as I'm concerned. The multiplayer was developed by DICE, so it's not bad. And then the single player was developed by Danger Close, and it is not very good at all. Some people have said that it's a really good scripted campaign with a lot of variety in it, but I have been unable to actually play it because it is so scripted that it bothers me so much. It's the same problem I had with the single player in Battlefield 3. And of course, the FOV is so narrow that it gives me headaches. So what can I say? As a PC game, the single player really isn't up to snuff. Alright, let's head over to Get Games Go, because there's a couple of decent bundles there. The first one being Far Cry 1 and 2, for a rather astonishingly low £5 or $6.25, as well as €6.25. That's a good price. Far Cry 1 and 2 are both absolutely fantastic games. Far Cry 2 has a mechanic that I really hate. In fact, it's got 2 mechanics that I really hate. If anyone has played the game, that you know exactly what I'm talking about. 1, the checkpoints, the constantly respawning checkpoints. That's incredibly annoying. And 2, the malaria mechanic, whereby if you travel too far in one direction when the game doesn't want you to, you fall over from malaria and you get respawned back at where you were. Aside from that, it's got some amazing gunplay, really great graphics, and some pretty solid AI as well. It's pretty free roaming aside from what I've just said there. Far Cry 1 is, as far as I'm concerned, a damn classic, and if you haven't played that game already, you should. Far Cry is better than the original Crysis. It is much better designed. You can approach objectives from a wide variety of different angles. It's pretty much free roaming, and it still looks good to this very day. Far Cry is a good game. I'd certainly have a look at that pack if you're looking for some FPS action this weekend, because you can't really get a lot better than that for that price. And we've got another bundle, the Arkham City and Arkham Asylum bundle. This is not amazing in terms of its price, I'm afraid. It's £30, $50 or €50. The reason that I don't really like this bundle, even though both games in it are absolutely stellar, is the fact that I've seen both of these games discounted lower than this. Arkham Asylum has frequently been on 75% off on Steam, to the point where I actually ended up buying the Game of the Year edition, even though I already owned the original one, just for the challenge levels, because it was cheaper. It was so cheap, ridiculously cheap. And Arkham City has even been on a 50% off offer pretty damn quick after its release. So honestly, I just can't recommend the bundle, even though it's so good. And both games are amazing, but the prices just... they're nowhere near what Steam was able to offer in that regard. And while Get Games Go provides an exceptional piece of value with the Far Cry bundle this week, honestly, Arkham City, Arkham Asylum, just for that price, it's hard to recommend it because you've seen them cheaper before. So I think patience is a virtue on that one, because no doubt those games will pop back on sale at either the same price as they were on Steam before or even lower. So you'll save an awful lot more money there. All right, folks, that's a roundup of some of the sales that we managed to find this week. If you do manage to find anything else good, then by all means, leave it in the comment section below this video to point the viewers in the direction of some cool deals. Most of these deals will probably expire at the end of the weekend. That's the way that things go. And I'll be back, hopefully next week, with another sale box. I'll see you next time.